friends. Happy Tuesday. I'm glad you could meet with me here today. I have something really exciting to tell you and something that's going to really help you. Today I want to talk to you about something that I'm sure we've all thought about from time to time, at one time or another. What am I supposed to be teaching my kids each year? Well, there are books you can buy or go to the library. Things my second grader needs to know, or what does my fifth grader need to know, things like that. But at schoolhouseteachers.com, we have compiled guidelines for every grade all in one place. And you know what? It has hyperlinks to our classes that pertain to those particular subjects. So I want to show that to you here in just a minute, but first a few notes. These are not aligned with Common Core. These are not aligned with any specific state requirements. So if your state has a specific requirement about when you teach American history versus world history, be sure and check with your own state. This is just an overview, and it's what people generally study in each grade. It's designed to be a helpful resource. It's not a rigid tool that you have to use, that you have to go by. So keep in mind, your child does not have to master each of the things on these lists. None of our kids master the things on the list. But some people really like lists. I know I do. So don't worry about it. You are in charge. But if you find this helpful, this is mind-blowing. But if it's not helpful, don't stress about it. So let me show you. This is going to be a great resource for you. Okay, if I go to here where it says planning, and I push on scope and sequence, that is where we're going to go today. Now, I'm going to go down here, and it's going to give me two lists. First of all, it says I can download the complete scope and sequence, and I did that here. I printed out all the lists. The one we're going to look at doesn't look like this. But if I wanted to find, for instance, a Bible curriculum that I could use with several ages, this tells me the name of the Bible curriculum, if it's video-based or if it has stories or written things, or how many months it's for, how many lessons, and it tells me what grades it's for. So, for instance, the storybook right here is 12 stories, and it's for grades 1st through 3rd. Camping with Jesus takes about 5 months, and it is for grades 1st through 5th. Sorry. So lots and lots of pages here of what you can look for, all the subjects, all the grades that they include, all the components. That is a great subject resource if you want to print that out. But what I'm going to show you today is a quick link. Let's say that I have you can either do it by grade or you can do it by subject. But let's say that I have a 1st grader. So I'm going to punch 1st grade right here, and it's going to take me to each subject. Now this tells me that in 1st grade, my student needs to do these things in art. They need to explore their colors. They start becoming familiar with famous works of art, begin learning to group paintings by artists. And one of the things that and right here it says, it lists all the classes that deal with those topics on schoolhouseteachers.com. So our class called All About Art, if I push on that, it's going to take me directly to this class. Now it tells me how to use this course. It tells me it's 6 weekly lessons, and I'm going to go to view a sample. And here it is. It has vocabulary words. It has all kinds of stuff that we're going to learn about in week 2, which is still life. So this is all about art. I can use this if I want to for my art curriculum. Now, if I go back here, and it's going to show me what I need to do in music. This says it needs to know some definitions. You need to know how to sing in the C major scale and recognize some of the symbols and enjoy some fun songs. So here's some listed some of the classes on schoolhouseteachers.com. Now, the one I want to look at is Great Musicians, 12 units for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. And it tells me how to use the class. I'm going to view a sample lesson. It has 12 printable units. And here's the sample. It's about Beethoven, a little boy who was forced to practice. So it tells me right here all about Beethoven and some of his songs and how he wrote his songs and about his life. So that would be very interesting for a 1st grader and would go along. Now, the next section it's going to show me is language arts. This incorporates lots of things, including reading. Now, it's going to tell me my student needs to read varied types of materials. Sometimes I need to read to them. Sometimes they need to read. They need to read the things around them, like cereal boxes and signs. And they need to become familiar with what is fiction and nonfiction and fables and folk tales. Now, on schoolhouseteachers.com, it tells you in the 1st grade, reading and phonics, all these things that they should know how to do in 1st grade, and it suggests that you go to the Literacy Center. Now, that's something we've looked at before, but let's briefly look at that. It actually has a list of all the skills that your child should have, and so you can tailor this to your child. Here are all the things that your child should be able to do, and when you get to a part where they can't do it, then you click on it, and it gives you resources of where to find that. Okay, we also have the McGuffey 1st grade reader, where you can download that, the whole book. It's really cool. That is been around for years that people have taught their children how to read. It's a classic. It's great. There's also things on reading comprehension and additional reading resources. And it lists some other things here that you can do with books or with the book list for families, and it has some more things in the Literacy Center. But it also is going to list spelling, and Schoolhouse Spelling is a great resource. We have a full K through 12 spelling curriculum for that. And I know I've showed you some of the high school classes, but that is an excellent class. All of them are. Now, the next thing on our list is handwriting. So it says you can do beginning handwriting, which talks about how to have a pencil grip and pre-writing skills. But if you want to go a little further, everyday copywork is great. And this has sometimes Bible verses or sometimes things from classic art literature that they can copy. See here it has that. This is just a sample, but see how it shows them how to trace the words. And you can do also cursive in that. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is writing. Now, writing at this age, you don't really use a particular curriculum because you want to integrate it into the different subjects. For instance, history. You could ask the child a question and have them write the answer in a sentence, or you can start the sentence and have them finish the sentence. You can have them keep a journal. All these things are listed here for you. You could play story games. The next thing we're going to look at is grammar, and tells you what 1st graders need to know for grammar. Basic rules of capitalization, the job of nouns, verbs, and adjectives, how to make a complete sentence. All that stuff right there is what your 1st grader needs to learn. Now, on schoolhouseteachers.com, it tells you what is available. Right now, we're still working on it, but right now, we do not have a complete grammar curriculum. This is the only thing in 1st grade that's not complete right now. it says that you may want to supplement for this course. But Little Language Arts does have certain lessons that talk about nouns, pronouns, adjectives, and adverbs. Now there's also, did you know there's also books that explain grammar? We used some of those when my kids were little and even when they were in middle school, because they talked about, it was funny stories about nouns or funny stories about letters of the alphabet, or all different kinds of places where everybody was a part of speech. That was something fun to do, but it made it more real, I think. Now the next subject we're going to look at is history. Now there's two kind of tracks for teaching history. One is traditional, and that's just a general chronological approach to U.S. history with a regional approach to world history. The classical kind of does chronological, but it goes more in depth and skips around sometimes. It doesn't really matter what you do and in what order. It gives you here a traditional track, and it gives you later on the classical track, but it has every grade on here. And what I chose was history. I chose early American history for beginners. Here we are down here. American history for beginners. 34 weeks covering Columbus to the U.S. Constitution. So let's look at that, a sample of that. Now I'm always interested in history because that's what my degree was in. So I love to look at all these great history classes on Schoolhouse Teachers. So here we have Sir Walter Raleigh and Roanoke Island. And it has vocabulary in blue, and it has pictures, and then at the end it has some activities. Learn how to play jacks, print the dots, print to connect the dots to make a sailboat, different kinds of things like that. There's a map that may hold a clue to what happened to the lost colony. So they have a little reading program, but then there's some activities to do with it for your first grader. Now the next thing we're going to look at is geography. And all this just goes down the line. Geography, sometimes you don't have to do geography. This is totally up to you. There's lots of options here. But this one says geography, you kind of have to learn about the basics of maps. And it gives you some suggestions here, but also down here it says Everyday Explorers USA. And I thought this would go well with the early American history. So that's what I chose. And we're going to look at it here. Okay, view a sample. See, Everyday Explorers, Idaho, day 1. And it kind of gives you a little story here, and it has has notebook pages to go with it. And you can do a timeline, you can do some extra exploration, but that would be something also that you could do with multiple age levels. You kind of pretend like you're in Idaho is what it's telling you. That would be fun. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is math. We have a complete math program at Schoolhouse Teachers. Look at all the things that your first grader needs to know. Tell time, recognize numbers 1 to 1,000. On Schoolhouse Teachers, we have starting out with first grade math, and this is a 36-week course covering the traditional topics listed above. Let's look at it. They also have some of the Cuisinart rods and for kinesthetic learners and stuff like that. I'm going to go to lessons. And it gives you an outline, and this one is a very interesting class because it's not worksheets necessarily. It is a slideshow. So it's kind of like a video if you're looking for something like that, but lesson 1 slideshow. Let's look at it. Here we go. Open. Maybe not. Okay, well, it's a slideshow, and then it has homework. It may not work for us today. We have a storm going on right here. So the last thing we're going to look at is science. And it tells you all the things that your first grader needs to know in science. About life science, earth science, physical science, vocabulary, all that stuff. And then it tells you on schoolhasteachers.com all of the science curriculum that we offer. Now, if you want to do some little mini studies, this is a 4-week, a 2-week, and a 1-week, little things like that. But here actually is Exploring God's World with First Grade Science, which is 36 weeks, and it's for the whole year. Now we're going to go to View a Sample and look at it. See, classification of living things. It has some pictures and it has the different kingdoms. But all this is age appropriate for your first grader and covers almost all of the things on that list. Okay, so it's colorful, just like a science book that you would see anywhere else. Now, the question is, once I get all of this that I like, how do I compile it in a way that my child and I can access it? Well, do you remember a few weeks ago I told you about the bookmark feature? So that is what we need to do today. I have already compiled it for you. But if you go up here to Member Dashboard, now each class that you look at, when you find it, if you push Go to Lessons, they're going to have a bookmark place at the bottom where you can click that and add and make a bookmark for your child. But here, I've made one of all the classes we looked at today. Right here, see it says bookmarks. Here's my bookmark collection, and I made one for first grader. So here it lists all of those classes that I talked about. So that's all you have to do when you log in. It's like your own personal book list right here. And these are all links that take you directly to the classes. So it's all nice and neat for you. See, we have Spelling Lower Level Elementary Year 1 and Exploring God's World with First Grade Science, First Grade Math, Everyday Explorers. All the classes that we looked at today are right here. Isn't that great? Now remember, what we looked at today is just guidelines, and you are in charge of your child's education. So you know them best, and you know what they need. So if you want to switch things around, that's fine. For instance, my oldest is in high school, and we kind of switched around some of the things for science. See, if you go back here to this first one, if I go by subject here, I'm going to go to science. And we used what was available around us for labs at certain times, and so we didn't exactly go by this schedule, but that's okay. We got it all done. See, it starts with kindergarten for science, and if I go all the way down to high school, it's going to tell me all the things that my high schooler needs to take for science. See, it goes through 4th grade, 5th grade, all that. Okay, see, now here it gives an example. What to do for 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. But we had a great opportunity for 9th grade to do biology, a lab here in town. So we did 9th grade biology, we did 10th grade marine biology, 11th grade we did physical science, and then this year 12th grade we're doing chemistry. So we got it done, but we just did it in different order, and that's okay too. I hope that this has been helpful for you today. I want you to be sure to ask any questions or provide some feedback, anything that you'd like to learn about. I'm here to help you. And one of the things that I like the best about this scope and sequence is that it's all right here, and I don't have to work hard to get it. It is easy. It's in one place, and all the work is done for me. So I hope you have a great week, and happy teaching.